The views and opinions expressed in the DILLIGAF podcast are those of the host alone and are not intended to express those of any other person, business, or entity. The DILLIGAF podcast is for entertainment only. These are my opinions and should not be interpreted as facts or advice. Think for yourself.
Keeps you up at night, yeah. Make all the demons quiet, yeah. We were built to thrive, yeah. I think that we've all had enough, yeah. I think that we've all had enough. Sick of dealing with the old plan. They know that we're calling it wrong. You got me like, oh, yeah. I think that we've all had enough.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the DILLIGAF podcast, talking about anything and everything that interests me. If it makes me think, laugh, cry, scream, rage, or say, what the fuck? You're going to hear about it. My name's Tom. I am your host. I want to thank everybody for watching or listening on YouTube, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast from. Make sure you follow, like, subscribe, share, rate, comment, all that kind of fun stuff. Really does help out the show as far as our placement and searches and all that kind of stuff. So please help me out and make sure you're following on social media. It's at DILLIGAF_pod on all socials. And you can find all that and more on my Linktree, which is Linktree/DILLIGAF_pod, or scan the little QR code right there in the corner of your screen if you're watching on video. And if you ever want to shoot me an email, it's dilligafpod@gmail.com. So today we are talking about something very important to me, something that I fully, wholeheartedly believe in, and I'm talking about balance. And I don't mean physical balance like, walking down the street, you trip over something, you lose your balance and fall down. It's not the kind of balance I'm talking about. I am talking about balance in life, balance in the world, balance in the universe. And I touched on this a while back. I did a show about justice and vengeance, and I talked about balance and how that's how I view vengeance, is restoring balance. So I want to expand on that a little bit because I fully believe balance is necessary for everything. Everything in the universe needs to be in balance. And the easiest thing to touch on first and foremost is good and evil. And realistically, you can't have one without the other. If evil never existed, is everything really good? I mean, you wouldn't know. You wouldn't know how good something is if something equally bad didn't exist. You wouldn't know how wonderful your life really is if you hadn't gone through some equally hard times at some point. And that's something I can definitely relate to. And a lot of people don't see it that way. I guess you could compare it to the concept of karma in some ways. The idea that everything that you put out into the universe kind of comes back around to you. So if you put good stuff out, good stuff comes back. You put evil out, evil's going to come back. I don't fully believe in that myself because bad stuff happens to everybody at some point or another. You're going to have hardships in life no matter what. So the karma thing really doesn't resonate with me. Because how do I, or how does anybody know that the negative thing that's happening to this person is because of the negative thing that they perpetrated against me or against somebody else, whoever it might be? You don't know that. There's no way of knowing that. And a lot of people see the universe as some kind of intelligent entity. It almost in a religious sense. They don't necessarily believe in like a god, but they'll ask the universe for things. They'll put it out there in the universe. Like manifesting is another thing that people really put a lot of stock in sometimes. And I'm not disparaging people who do believe in these things. Not at all. If it works for you, More power to you. But for me, the universe is all about balance because if one tiny little thing gets thrown off, the world gets thrown into chaos. And let's just look at it from the perspective of the planet we live on, planet Earth. If it gets thrown out of balance, let's just say the axis of the Earth shifts just a tiny little bit, like a half a degree, we're all fucked. We're all getting thrown off into space. There's earthquakes and tsunamis and tornadoes and God knows what else, volcanoes and hurricanes and all this kind of crazy shit would happen if just gets the Earth gets thrown out of balance just a tiny, tiny little bit. So balance is necessary. Balance is vital to existence. And it, for me, it boils down to, like I was talking about with good and evil, yin and yang, positive and negative, light and dark, happiness and sadness. You can't have one without the other. Another example I like to use is a concept, it's a Buddhist concept, and I first came across this on TikTok, believe it or not, from an account called Shaolin Online. And it's a Shaolin monk just talking about different philosophies and different ways of life, ways of looking at the world and things like that. And I don't necessarily follow Buddhism completely either. I don't follow any religion or any faith or whatever you want to call it. I have never found one that suits all of my beliefs. But there are elements from different ones that I do key on, that do speak to me, that do resonate with me, that I do believe in. And this particular one, like I said, I found it on a TikTok account called Shaolin Online. I definitely recommend giving them a look. But it's called Demon Hand Buddha Heart. And I believe in this so much that I actually got it tattooed on me. I have on my right hand, I have a demon tattooed, and on my chest, over my heart, I have Buddha. And the way they explain it in this video is develop the demon hand while maintaining the Buddha heart. Be able to access something, but know or decide in your heart whether or not to use it. And that resonated with me a lot because that's something I've always kind of followed myself without actually knowing that this was a Buddhist philosophy or a Shaolin philosophy. Because I firmly believe, and this goes back to my talk about vengeance, be able to fight, be able to defend yourself, defend your family, defend your home, stand up for people who can't stand up for themselves, be able to fight, be capable of violence, but decide in your heart when and where to use it. Maintain the ability to show kindness and compassion and mercy to those who deserve it. And don't get me wrong, there are people in this world who do not deserve any of those things. There are people who are not worthy of any kind of compassion or mercy. And that's what I believe. This whole show is my opinion. Like it says at the beginning, these are my opinions. This is what I believe. But I'll give you an example. People who hurt children. And I think you know what I'm talking about. I'm not going to use the word, but people who harm children, who abuse children, those people deserve no mercy. They deserve no kindness. They deserve no compassion. People who abuse other people, they're not deserving of compassion. They're not deserving of kindness or mercy, in my opinion. Somebody who I was gonna say repeatedly, but honestly, it doesn't have to be. It only needs to happen once. Who would sexually assault another person, forcibly do that to someone? You deserve no kindness, no mercy, no compassion. You're destroying someone's life, whether it's an adult or a child. You are doing irreparable damage to that person's life. To me, for my thinking, your life becomes forfeit. You deserve to lose yours. That's the time where the demon hand needs to act. And but even that concept, and I honestly I don't think there's any room for interpretation in that particular concept. The way that the uh, the monk in that video laid it out is pretty to the point. Be able to access something and know in your heart when to use it. It's very simple. But people even interpret that differently. I know one person they say, oh, it means tough love. It has nothing to do with tough love. That's a completely different concept. And if you think that demon hand Buddha heart means tough love, you I can't help you because that is not what it means. It was originally a concept that was applied to doctors. The demon hand Buddha heart, the demon hand meaning a doctor holding a scalpel, they could do insane amounts of damage and chaos and just, yeah, harm. But they use it to heal. That was the original usage of that concept, and it's been expanded since then. Again, the in the video that I'm talking about, I think the way that the monk presents it is spot on. Be able to access something and know in your heart whether or not to use it. I've seen other quotes: be capable of great violence, but know when to use it and when not to use it. Another concept along the same lines, people talk about the pen is mightier than the sword. I hate this saying. I actually have this hanging on my wall. Is a variation of this, and I'm looking over here because I'm reading it. The pen isn't mightier than the sword. Pens don't win battles, and swords do not write poetry. Mighty is the hand that knows when to pick the pen and when to pick the sword. Balance. You don't always need to come down with an iron fist. There are times when words are more effective than actions. And there are times when words are simply wasted and action is what's needed. You have to know when each one is necessary. And to me, that's balance. Like I talked about in my previous episode about vengeance, I see vengeance as balance. If somebody harms you in some way, that throws your world out of balance. If you do an equal amount, not saying exceed what they've done to you, but do an equal amount of damage to that person, that makes you feel better. That brings things back into balance, or at least closer to balance than you were. I firmly believe in these things. I wouldn't call it my religion, but these are my beliefs. And like I said earlier, a lot of people view the universe as some living, intelligent entity that they will literally ask things from, and they call it manifesting, and they'll say, "I'm going to put this out into the universe. Help me get $1 million." I'm just throwing examples out there, but you still have to take steps to make that happen. So it's not the universe making that happen. That's you working towards that goal. Nothing. See, to me, manifesting is just saying it and it happens. It doesn't work that way for anybody, ever. So I don't really buy the universe as a living, intelligent entity. Some people do, like I said, that's fine. If that works for you, if that's how you believe, that's how you live your life, and it works for you and makes your life better in some way, more power to you. Same thing I said about religion. If it works for you, and more importantly, that you're not harming anybody with those beliefs, you're not weaponizing those beliefs in any way, then have at it. Do your thing. If it's working for you and making your life better, who am I to tell you you're wrong? But to me, for what I believe in, the universe, the entire universe is all about balance. You can't have the light without the darkness. You can't have good without evil. And going back to the demon hand Buddha heart, it's about balance. You can't have a demon hand and demon heart, as he said, because then you will become a danger to this world. And by the same token, he didn't say this in the video, but this is what I think. You also cannot have a Buddha hand and Buddha heart. You can't just be that passive, peaceful, just sit there and watch the world go around you. Because to me, this is my opinion. If you're incapable of action, you're useless. You're useless. If you can't stand up and act, you're the you have no use. You need to be capable of both. You need to be capable of talking and being peaceful, but you also need to be capable of standing up, raising a fist, and fighting for what you believe in, what you feel is right for yourself, for your family, for your home, whatever it might be. That is balance. Know when to be peaceful, know when to not be peaceful. Let's take it back to the 1960s. There was a song from the Byrds called "Turn, Turn, Turn." You know, everything there's a season, and it's quoted from the Bible, believe it or not. But a time to reap, a time to sow, uh, a time to kill, a time to heal, all that kind of stuff. Yes, that that's a concept from the Bible that I believe in. I'm not saying I believe the whole thing, but that's a concept that falls within what I believe. Because without balance, the universe would be chaos. You can't have all good or all evil. There needs to be a middle ground. There needs to be a gray area. There needs to be, if I can borrow a term from Star Wars, talking about the Force, there has to be the Bendu, the one in the middle between the, I believe it's Ashla and Bogan, the light and the dark, talking about the Force. Yes, I'm using Star Trek. Or, oh my God, Star Wars fans are going to kill me for that. I'm talking about Star Wars. I'm talking about the Force. I'm talking about Jedi beliefs because I find it to be true. You can't have too much of one or the other. I'm not saying you have to have equal amounts. You, there has to be a certain amount of darkness, but it should not be allowed to flourish. There has to be goodness in the world. You can't have one without the other, and I don't think a lot of people understand that. If you've never had hardship in your life, you'll have no idea how good you have it. And there are people in this world that are like that, that people that were just raised super privileged, never wanted for anything, always had, their families always were rich and wealthy and could provide anything and everything that they ever wanted. They've never known hardship like that, and you can tell those people are not balanced. Those people are not, they don't live in reality. They have no concept of the world and things that people deal with and go through. Going through hardship makes you appreciate the good times. So I think that pretty much covers balance. Like I said, it to me, it is the most important concept there is. You have to have balance in your life. You can't just be all about work and excuse me, dedicated to your career. And no, you need to have you need to have a balance with a home life, whether that means family or friends or just hobbies you like to do, like me doing this. You know, yeah, I have a job. I have a, a a regular 9 to 5 job that pays my bills and takes care of my family, but it's not my life. It's not my whole life. I have outside interests, hobbies, things that I like to do to balance the stress of working 40 hours a week or whatever it might be. And that's just one of many examples. You have to have balance in your life. There has to be balance in the world, which there is not right now. The world is so out of balance right now, it's ridiculous, and hopefully it can be fixed sometime soon. But and balance in the universe, because like I said before, if one tiny thing gets thrown off, it can create chaos and destruction beyond belief. So I hope everybody out there can find balance in their life. And again, thank you to everyone for checking out the show. And as I said last week, this is the season finale. This is episode 20. So this is going to end the first season of the DILLIGAF podcast. And I appreciate everyone who's checked out the show so far. I'm going to take a little bit of a break, 30 days again, to kind of reset, reorganize, figure out what direction we want to go for season two, get some topics together, do some research, see if there's any changes we want to make or whatever the case may be. So I will be back on May 3rd, will be episode 1 of season 2. So mark that on your calendar, set a reminder for yourself. May 3rd will be the next episode of the DILLIGAF podcast. Don't know what the topic's going to be yet, but I'm sure actually, I take that back. May 3rd, it's going to be a Star Wars show because it's right there by May 4th, and everybody knows I'm a Star Wars nerd. So yeah, I'm gonna do May the 4th be with you again, just like I did last year. So May 3rd we'll be talking some Star Wars stuff. It'll be different stuff than we talked about last time. But so yeah, make sure to keep an eye out for that. But again, thank you to everybody who has checked out the show so far. I really appreciate any and all support. Let me know what you think of this week's episode. Drop me some comments, shoot me an email, whatever the case may be. But thank you for watching or listening on Spotify or YouTube, wherever you get your podcast from. Make sure you like, follow, subscribe, share, rate, comment, all that kind of fun stuff really does help out the show. Make sure you're following on social media. It's DILLIGAF_pod on all socials. And you can find all that and more on my Linktree, which is Linktree/DILLIGAF_pod, or scan the QR code right there in the corner of the screen. And if you ever want to shoot me an email, it's dilligafpod@gmail.com. So with that, I'm going to sign off. And if anyone has any issues with anything that I have said here today, ask yourself one question. Do I look like I give a fuck?